Rain-slicked streets blurred the city lights, painting the night in shades of betrayal. Eunseo's hand trembled as she clutched the envelope her fiancé had, accidentally, dropped into her bag. Inside were photographs. Her fiancé, Jaehyun, laughing in an intimate embrace with her best friend, Haejin. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. So this is what love looked like. Lies wrapped in promises. Eunseo's vision blurred, her chest tightening as if the city itself were crushing her lungs. 1 year. She had been planning her wedding for 1 year, trusting the man who now grinned in those photos as if she didn't exist. And Haejin. Haejin, who had shared her secrets, her laughter, even her tears, had chosen betrayal over loyalty. The next moments blurred. Eunseo didn't remember the sharp scream, the screeching tires, or the cold splash of rainwater as her life slipped away. She woke up to darkness, a strange calm settling over her. And then she remembered. Everything. The betrayal. The lies. The pain. And the worst part, she had only 1 year to live from that day. But the universe or fate, or whatever force had been watching, had given her a gift, or a weapon. She was back. Reborn a year before her death. And this time, she knew every step, every secret, every hidden agenda. Sitting in her quiet apartment, rain tapping softly against the window, Eunseo stared at her reflection. Her eyes, once soft, forgiving, were now cold, sharp, like the blade of a knife. "I won't cry," she whispered to herself. "Not again." Her phone buzzed. A message from Jaehyun. "Eunseo, I need to see you. Please just hear me out." She smirked, her lips curling in a dangerous smile. "Try me. I've died once already." The first step of her revenge had begun. She would walk the path of her own vengeance, and when the dust settled, the people who had betrayed her would finally see the consequences of underestimating a woman who had cheated death itself. The chandeliers glittered like frozen stars above Seoul's most prestigious hotel ballroom. Eunseo had stood beneath them once before, smiling, trembling with happiness, unaware that her entire world was built on betrayal. Not this time. Tonight, she wore a crimson silk dress that shimmered with every step. Her lips curved in a calm smile, but her eyes were unreadable, sharp as polished glass. The guests whispered about how she had matured, how she seemed colder, more regal. No one knew that death had burned away her innocence. Across the room, Jaehyun approached with that same charming grin she once adored. "Eunseo," he said, reaching for her hand. "You look stunning tonight." She let him touch her fingers, just long enough for him to believe she still cared. "Do I?" she replied softly. "I suppose I've had a change of heart lately." He laughed, mistaking her meaning. "Planning the wedding must be stressful. Don't worry, I'll handle everything. You just focus on looking beautiful." The words once would have warmed her. Now they felt like ash. From the corner of her eye, Eunseo spotted Haejin, the best friend who would soon betray her. The woman's smile was practiced, her gaze lingering too long on Jaehyun. Eunseo almost pitied her. Almost. "Oh, Haejin," she called, waving lightly. "Come here, I was just thinking about you." Haejin's smile faltered for half a second before she recovered, gliding over in a glittering gown. "Eunseo, you're glowing. Jaehyun's really lucky." "I know," Eunseo said sweetly, tilting her head. "He's my everything. I trust him completely." The irony dripped like poison honey. Haejin's fingers tightened on her clutch, her eyes flickering. Eunseo's smile never wavered. Let her squirm. This was the first step. Remind them that the woman they thought was naive could play their game and win. As the music shifted into a waltz, Jaehyun extended his hand. "Dance with me." Eunseo hesitated, then took it, her heart beating steady, not with love but calculation. Every spin brought her closer to the edge of their downfall. When the song ended, applause followed. Jaehyun leaned close, murmuring, "You seem different lately. Are you angry with me?" Eunseo's lips brushed his ear as she whispered, "Why would I be angry? After all, we haven't done anything wrong." He froze, confusion flickering in his gaze, but she was already walking away, the red of her dress trailing like spilled blood. Somewhere near the exit, a tall man in a black suit watched her quietly. Seo Yoonha, the heir to the Kong group. His eyes followed her with a faint, knowing smirk. The game had begun. Morning sunlight spilled through the glass walls of Han Group headquarters, glinting off polished marble floors and sharp suits. Eunseo walked through the lobby with quiet confidence, heels clicking like a metronome of intent. This building had once been a place of pride for her, her fiancé Jaehyun's empire, the company she had helped build with tireless devotion. Now it was a battlefield. Her rebirth hadn't only given her memories, it gave her foresight. She knew what deals would collapse, which investors would turn, and when Jaehyun's pride would destroy him. Today was where she would begin tightening the noose. Director Han. The secretary greeted her brightly, unaware that this woman, once soft-spoken and easily swayed, had already died once. Mr. Jaehyun is expecting you for the 10 a.m. product presentation. Eunseo smiled politely. Of course. Let's make sure it's perfect. As she entered the conference room, her eyes swept the space. There he was, Han Jaehyun, standing at the head of the table, all confidence and charm, the golden son of Han Group. Around him sat board members and potential investors. And among them, a new face. Seo Yoonha, the aloof young chairman of Kong Holdings, known for dismantling rival firms without a blink. Eunseo's gaze lingered on him for half a second too long. Yoonha noticed. He met her eyes calmly, unreadable, as if he were watching a particularly interesting chess match. The presentation began. Jaehyun spoke with passion about an upcoming product launch, a tech partnership that, in her past life, had seemed promising. She remembered exactly how it would end. A data breach, a scandal, and the company's near collapse 6 months later. Eunseo let him finish before raising her hand delicately. Director Han, she said, her tone mild. Have you double-checked the data encryption specifications from Naratech? He blinked. Of course. They're outdated, she interrupted softly, sliding a folder across the table. According to next quarter's projections, Naratech's system will fail compliance by July. It's a small oversight, but one that could cost us millions. A murmur rippled through the room. Jaehyun's expression faltered. I wasn't aware of that. Oh, I'm sure you weren't, she replied smoothly. But I believe in being prepared. Don't you? Yoonha's low chuckle cut through the tension. It seems Director Han has quite the sharp strategist on his team, he said, eyes never leaving Eunseo. Jaehyun forced a smile. She's always been detail-oriented. Eunseo smiled sweetly, but her mind was already spinning. That single blow was enough to plant doubt in the investors' minds. Jaehyun's credibility would start to crack. After the meeting, she gathered her documents. A shadow fell over her desk. Miss Han, Yoonha said. His voice was calm, low, but commanding. You predicted a system failure 6 months before it happens. How? She looked up at him, unfazed. Intuition. And preparation. He studied her quietly, his gaze sharp as glass. No, it's more than that. You're not just prepared. You're someone who's seen this happen before. Her heartbeat stilled. Then she smiled, cool and unreadable. Or maybe I'm just good at reading people, Mr. Seo. Yoonha's lips curved faintly. I hope you read me as well as you read others. As he walked away, Eunseo exhaled slowly. He was dangerous, not because he was an enemy, but because he could see through her mask. Still, a powerful ally could be useful. Her phone buzzed, a text from Haejin. Dinner tonight? Jaehyun said you've been so busy lately. Let's catch up. Eunseo's lips curved into a smile that never reached her eyes. Catch up? She thought. No. Haejin. It's time for the second move. The restaurant was expensive, private, and glittered with crystal chandeliers that caught the warm light like captured stars. Eunseo had chosen the place carefully. Not too intimate, not too public. Just enough to let secrets breathe. Across from her, Haejin smiled in that same sweet, practiced way that once fooled her completely. Her lipstick was perfect, her laughter carefully measured. But now, Eunseo could see every flicker of guilt beneath that polish. I've missed this, Haejin said, reaching across the table. You've been so distant lately. Are you upset about something? Eunseo's lips curved faintly. Upset? No. I've just been busy cleaning up a few mistakes. Haejin blinked. Mistakes. Eunseo sipped her wine. You know how it is in business. One wrong move, and everything crumbles. I'm learning to be more careful about who I trust. A faint tremor ran through Haejin's hand. Good, Eunseo thought. Let her squirm a little. Dinner continued with polite conversation, each word a move in their unspoken war. Eunseo asked about Haejin's new job at Nara Tech, the same company tied to Jaehyun's future scandal. She listened, smiling, memorizing every detail. When dessert arrived, she leaned forward with a conspiratorial smile. Haejin, between us girls, she whispered. I heard Nara Tech's security system might fail its next audit. Is that true? Haejin's eyes widened. What? Who told you that? Oh, just something I overheard, Eunseo said innocently. But if it's true, you should be careful. You don't want your reputation damaged before your promotion. She watched the panic flicker across Haejin's face like a candle in the wind. Seeds of fear. Planted. By the time the meal ended, Eunseo had exactly what she needed. Information, leverage, and a trembling conscience on the other side of the table. Later that night, Eunseo stood by her apartment window, the city lights reflected in the glass like fireflies trapped in amber. Her phone buzzed. A message from Seo Yoonha. Yoonha, you were right. Narateka's stock dropped 3% after rumors of an audit leak. Yoonha, I'm beginning to think you see the future. Eunseo smirked. Eunseo, I don't see the future. I just remember the past too well. A pause. Then, Yoonha, whatever you're planning, I want in. Her fingers hesitated over the screen. Yoonha wasn't a man who offered help without reason. He was testing her, or inviting her into a deeper game. She typed slowly. Eunseo, why? His reply came fast. Yoonha, because people like us don't wait for justice. We build it. The next morning, rumors swept through Han Group. Whispers about Jaehyun's mishandled contracts. Leaked information about Narateka's instability. None traced back to Eunseo, of course. She made sure of that. Jaehyun stormed into her office, slamming the door. Did you leak those reports? He demanded, jaw tight. Eunseo looked up from her desk, calm as still water. Why would I hurt my own fiancé's company? Then how did the press know? She shrugged. Maybe someone else wanted to expose your incompetence before it dragged us all down. Eunseo. She stood, stepping close enough for him to see the ice behind her smile. I told you, she murmured. You should trust me more. I'd never let anyone ruin you. Her tone was soft. Too soft. It sent a chill down his spine. As he left, Eunseo sat back down, exhaling slowly. Her reflection in the glass smirked at her. Half angel, half executioner. That evening, she met Yoonha at a rooftop bar overlooking the city. The night air was cold, the skyline alive with color. You move fast, Yoonha said, handing her a glass of wine. Time is something I no longer waste, she replied. He studied her face, the calm precision, the quiet fury that never reached her smile. Tell me, Miss Han, he said softly. When this is over, when you've destroyed them all, what will you do then? Eunseo turned toward the glittering horizon. Then, she said, her voice almost wistful, I'll start living. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then Yoonha smiled, slow and dangerous. I look forward to seeing how you do it. It started with small, almost invisible cracks. A misplaced file here, a missing phone call there, a subtle word of doubt whispered at just the right time. Eunseo knew from her previous life that Haejin's greatest weakness wasn't ambition. It was insecurity. The kind that festered quietly, needing only a little nudge to turn into full-blown paranoia. And Eunseo had a gift for nudging. 2 weeks after their dinner, Haejin arrived unannounced at Han Group. Her smile was brittle, her tone too bright as she greeted Eunseo in the lobby. I just wanted to surprise you, she said, clutching a small gift bag. Thought you could use something sweet after all those meetings. Eunseo accepted the bag with a gracious smile. You're thoughtful as always. They walked together to the cafe on the first floor. Eunseo ordered green tea, Haejin, her usual vanilla latte. Their conversation was polite, surface deep, until Eunseo's phone buzzed on the table. Jaehyun's name lit up the screen. Oh, Haejin said lightly, eyes flickering. He's been calling you a lot lately. Eunseo tilted her head. We are engaged, remember? I know, Haejin replied with a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. It's just, He's been messaging me too. About work, I mean. Eunseo's smile was faint. Of course. You're working with Nara Tech. He needs those reports. She let the silence stretch, just long enough for Haejin to feel the weight of it. Then, softly, though, I do wonder why he always calls you after midnight. Haejin froze. What? Eunseo's eyes met hers, steady and unreadable. You should tell him not to. People might misunderstand. Haejin's lips parted, but no words came. Eunseo reached across the table, touching her friend's hand with feigned warmth. I trust you, Haejin. Always have. It was a dagger wrapped in silk. That night, the first argument between Jaehyun and Haejin began. Eunseo didn't need to witness it. She could already imagine it perfectly. The raised voices. The denial. The lingering doubt. Every word she'd spoken had been designed for that moment. Still, she couldn't rest easy. The more she chipped away at them, the heavier her chest felt. Revenge was supposed to taste sweet, yet something about the bitterness lingered too long on her tongue. She pushed the thought away. Not yet. Not until they've fallen. Days later, she met Seo Yoonha again. This time, not at a rooftop bar, but inside Kong Holdings' private boardroom. Yoonha stood by the window, his suit jacket off, sleeves rolled up. His watch gleamed under the light. His posture as composed as ever. You've made quite an impact, he said without turning. Han Group's partners are unsettled. Everyone's asking who's leaking their inside information. Eunseo sat across the table, crossing her legs. Unsettled people make mistakes. I'm simply waiting for them to show me theirs. He finally looked at her, his gaze like a blade drawn in quiet amusement. And when they do, I'll make sure they can't recover. Yoonha smiled faintly, pouring her a cup of coffee. You're dangerous, Miss Han. But danger like yours doesn't come from hatred, it comes from memory. Her hand paused midair. What do you mean? I've seen vengeance before. It burns fast. But you, he tilted his head. You move like someone who's already lived through it once. Eunseo's breath caught. For a fleeting second, she wondered, did he truly know? He leaned closer, voice dropping to a murmur. Whatever you've endured, don't let it consume what's left of you. When the mask becomes too heavy, it starts to stick. For the first time, she couldn't find an answer. That evening, as she stood by her window, rain beginning to fall, Eunseo replayed his words. When the mask becomes too heavy, it starts to stick. Her reflection stared back at her. Cold, perfect, unfamiliar. She closed her eyes, whispering to herself, I'll stop when they're gone. When it's over. But a small voice inside her whispered back. And if it never ends? Meanwhile, at an upscale restaurant across town, Jaehyun slammed his glass onto the table. Why are you doubting me again, Haejin? What's gotten into you lately? Haejin's voice trembled. You tell me. Why is Eunseo suddenly questioning our work calls? Why does she know things she shouldn't? Jaehyun froze. What things? The audit, the investors. She's been one step ahead of everyone. Don't you think that's strange? Outside the window, lightning flashed. The cracks Eunseo had made were spreading, and soon, one of them would break. The rain came down hard that night, a relentless curtain against the city's glittering skyline. Eunseo sat in the back seat of her car, watching the water streak down the window like melted glass. The storm outside mirrored the one inside her. Calm on the surface, chaos underneath. Her phone buzzed. Yoonha. Come to the Kong building. Nah. No explanations. No pleasantries. Just a command. She hesitated for only a moment before replying. Eunseo. You sound urgent. Should I bring a sword? Yoonha. Only if you're planning to use it. A faint smile touched her lips. She told her driver to turn the car around. The elevator doors opened to the top floor of Kong Holdings, a world of quiet opulence and power. Yoonha stood by the glass wall, his figure cast against the lights of Seoul below. He didn't turn as she entered. I assume this isn't a social call, Eunseo said, her heels tapping softly on marble. It's business, Yoonha replied, still facing the window. Han Group is collapsing faster than I predicted. Your fiancé is desperate. And desperate men make dangerous choices. She crossed her arms. I'm counting on that. He finally turned. Sharp features, cool eyes, and that unreadable half-smile that always seemed to see too much. Be careful what you count on, Miss Han. Desperation cuts both ways. Eunseo took a seat opposite his desk, unflinching. Why did you call me here? Yoonha slid a folder toward her. A proposal. Inside were documents, acquisition terms, stock options, and a partnership offer that could dismantle Han Group entirely. Her breath caught for half a second. This would ruin him, she said quietly. That's what you want, isn't it? Yes, she answered. But not this fast. He leaned back in his chair, studying her expression. Strange. Most people would jump at the chance to destroy their enemy overnight. I don't want him gone, she said, voice low. I want him aware of what's happening. I want him to feel it. Yoonha's lips curved. So you don't seek vengeance. You seek awakening. Eunseo met his gaze, neither confirming nor denying it. Why help me? He was silent for a long time before answering. Because I've seen what betrayal does to people. And because you intrigue me, Miss Han. You're not like the others who come begging for power. You already have it. You just haven't decided how to use it. She frowned. And what do you get out of this? Yoonha smiled faintly. Entertainment. And perhaps, company. The air between them shifted. Sharp. Magnetic. Eunseo exhaled softly, leaning back. You're dangerous, Mr. Seo. Then we're alike, he replied. Later that night, Yoonha escorted her to the private elevator. As the doors slid open, he paused. Before you go, he said quietly, I want you to consider something. She looked up at him. When all this is over, when Han Jae-hyun is gone, when your revenge is complete, who will you be then? Eunseo hesitated. Free. He shook his head. No. You'll just be empty. The doors closed between them with a soft chime, leaving her reflection staring back. Calm, beautiful, and utterly hollow. By the time Eunseo returned home, her phone was flooded with messages. One from Jae-hyun. Jae-hyun. Eunseo, please call me. I think someone's trying to sabotage us. And another, from Haejin. Haejin. I need to talk. It's about Jae-hyun. It's important. Eunseo deleted them both without reading further. Instead, she opened Yoonha's file again. The partnership contract that could topple Han Group completely. Her fingers brushed over the signature line. For a brief moment, she imagined her old self hesitating. Crying. Forgiving. That version of Eunseo was dead. Still, she couldn't ignore Yoonha's words echoing in her mind. When it's over. Who will you be? She set the papers down, staring into the darkness outside her window. The storm had ended, but the air still smelled of rain and electricity. Somewhere between revenge and rebirth, she was starting to lose track of which one she truly wanted. The ballroom of the Han Group's 20th anniversary gala shimmered with gold light and false laughter. 1,000 guests, 1,000 smiles, and not one of them real. Eunseo stood at the edge of the crowd, a flute of champagne balanced between her fingers. Her crimson gown caught every glint from the chandeliers. Her expression was calm, almost serene. Inside, her heart beat in perfect rhythm with the strings of the orchestra. Tonight. It ends. Across the room, Han Jae-hyun worked the crowd, shaking hands and pretending the company wasn't crumbling beneath him. His perfect grin was slightly too wide, his eyes slightly too bright. And beside him, Haejin hovered in a silver dress, the picture of support, except for the tightness around her mouth. Eunseo watched them the way a hunter watches cornered prey. At the podium, the MC's voice rang out. And now, Director Han Eunseo will present the company's annual report. The room applauded politely. Jae-hyun looked surprised. He hadn't approved that segment. Eunseo stepped onto the stage anyway. She began with numbers, graphs, polite commentary. Then she said, evenly, however, there is one matter I believe our shareholders deserve to know. The murmur was immediate. Over the past year, several contracts have been compromised through insider collaboration between Han Group and Nara Tech. The losses total nearly 30 billion won. Cameras flashed. Executives turned pale. Eunseo clicked a remote. The projector flickered, first showing spreadsheets, then emails. And then, photos. Jaehyun and Haejin. Together. In hotel lobbies. In his office late at night. Every secret, every lie, exposed in high definition. The crowd gasped. Someone whispered, "That's his fiancé." Another voice. "And her best friend." Eunseo's smile never wavered. As you can see, corruption sometimes hides behind the prettiest faces. Haejin stumbled forward, her voice cracking. "Eunseo, please, it's not what it looks like?" Eunseo's tone was soft, almost pitying. "Then perhaps you should explain to the shareholders how your private meetings led to missing funds." Jaehyun's face drained of color. "You set me up." "No," she said quietly. "You set yourself up the moment you believed I'd never notice." Security approached. Reporters surged forward. Haejin burst into tears. Jaehyun tried to speak, but his microphone had already been cut. Eunseo descended the stage. The crowd parted for her as though she were something holy, or dangerous. At the far end of the room stood Seo Yoonha, watching with a faint, unreadable smile. He lifted a glass to her in silent acknowledgement. When she reached him, he murmured, "Efficient. Merciless. I almost feel sorry for them." She exhaled slowly, the adrenaline still burning in her blood. "Don't. They never felt sorry for me." "Maybe not," Yoonha said, "but revenge like that leaves ashes behind. Will you be able to breathe in the smoke?" Eunseo looked past him, toward the chaos, the flash of cameras, the voices rising in panic. "I already am." He studied her for a long moment. "You've won, Miss Han." She shook her head. "No. I've ended it." Outside, rain had begun again. Soft, misting. She walked into it without an umbrella, the cold drops sliding down her cheeks like something between tears and cleansing water. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You destroyed everything. Are you happy now?" She didn't bother replying. Instead, she deleted the message, lifted her face to the rain, and whispered, "Yes." But even as she said it, the word tasted strange. Hollow. Somewhere deep inside, where her anger had lived for so long, there was only silence now. From a distance, Yoonha watched her leave, the wind tugging at her red dress. He took a slow sip of wine and said under his breath, "She's free, but she doesn't know it yet." The headlines the next morning screamed her victory to the world. Han Group in ruins. CEO's affair and embezzlement exposed at anniversary gala. Heiress Han Eunseo cuts all ties. Investors turn to Kong Holdings for rescue. She didn't bother reading the rest. The noise, the chaos, it all felt distant, like a dream that had already burned itself out. Eunseo sat alone in her apartment, the same place she had died in once before. The rain had stopped, and the city outside shimmered under pale morning light. Her reflection in the glass no longer looked like a stranger, but not quite like herself either. There was a knock at the door. Soft. Hesitant. She already knew who it was. Jaehyun stood there, hair disheveled, his tailored suit wrinkled for the first time she'd ever seen. His eyes were red, his voice rough. "Eunseo, please." She stepped aside silently, allowing him in. The air between them was heavy with the ghosts of everything unsaid. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," he said, words tumbling over themselves. "It was a mistake. I was stupid, Haejin and I." "Stop." The word came out calm, steady, final. He froze. Eunseo turned to face him fully. "You've said everything you could before. Lies. Excuses. Apologies. But the one thing you never said was why." Jaehyun looked at her helplessly. "I don't know. She made me feel needed. You were always so perfect, Eunseo. I wanted someone who looked at me like I mattered." Her lips curved in a faint, sad smile. "And you destroyed the one person who actually did." He flinched. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them was vast, fragile. Then she said quietly, "You should go. There's nothing left between us now. Not hate, not love. Just nothing." He stared at her, searching for some trace of the woman he once knew. But the girl who had trusted him, loved him enough to die for him, was gone. When he finally left, he didn't look back. That night, she met Seo Yoonha by the river. the same place she'd once dreamed of escaping her life. The wind was cool, the Han River glowing silver under the city lights. "You did it," he said simply. Eunseo nodded. "It's over. Is it?" She turned toward him, eyes reflecting the soft shimmer of the water. "For me, yes. I've carried this anger long enough." He watched her quietly, then said, "Han Group is finished. But if you want, I can make you part of Kong Holdings. Partner, executive, whatever you choose. Start over on your own terms." She smiled faintly. "You always talk like power is the only kind of peace." He stepped closer, his voice lowering. "Then tell me what peace means to you." Eunseo looked out over the city, where dawn was just beginning to touch the horizon. "Peace," she said softly, "is waking up and not thinking about them anymore." Yoonha studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Then I hope you find it." He reached into his pocket and handed her a simple white envelope. Inside was a single business card, her name printed beside his company's logo. "No obligations," he said. "Just a door that's open if you want it." She took it, fingers brushing his. For the first time in what felt like lifetimes, she didn't feel cold. Later, as she walked home, the city felt different, alive, full of movement and noise. She stopped at a crosswalk, remembering how she had died the first time. The same intersection. The same rain. But now, the light turned green. She stepped forward. A few weeks later, the news broke that Seo Yoonha had appointed a new partner at Kong Holdings. Director Han Eunseo. Some said it was a strategic alliance. Others whispered it was something more. Eunseo never commented. She simply worked quietly, rebuilding, reshaping, learning how to live again. Not as a woman betrayed, but as a woman reborn. And on nights when the city fell silent and she found herself by the window, she would whisper to the reflection staring back. "I've died once already. This time, I'll live." Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more original novel stories. And stay tuned, our next story is coming soon.